Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Run It Back, the show where we try to get things right the second time. In today's episode, we're going to be going over a draft submitted by Beer Emoji, as he ended up going 4-3 in this premier draft, best of one draft on Arena. We'll dive into it now. As you open up Pack 1, Pick 1, we've got a lot of good, powerful cards. A lot of them in the Jund color pie. I've been really high on at knife point, as this is a very specific build around, but when it goes off very well. Also, Back for More is a very, very valuable card, particularly with things like the Spinewood Armadillo or even Honest Rutstein. Very happy with that. But of course, Roxanne, Starfall Savant, this is what makes it go. I've played 4-color, I've played 5-color decks with Roxanne, and she's incredible every single time. Love this. One of the keys is that as she enters the battlefield or attacks, you continue to make out the meteorites, and it is an incredible card. So very happy to see this as a first overall pick. Of course, we're going to be keeping an eye on Prickly Pear, Mystical Tether, and Explosive Derailment as the 3 cards I'd love to see wheel. Snakeskin Veil, I kind of expect to wheel at this point, but another one that we would be very happy to pick up later. Moving into Pack 1, Pick 2, we see the Deep Muck Desperado, the Hollow Marauder. These are all cards that are good. This Consuming Ashen is also a very good card, but Double Black is a little bit suspicious. No real red cards for us here, and a Voracious Varmint is fine. Now, this is a really interesting pick, and so as a more beginner-style drafter, I think you kind of navigate towards the green and red cards to match up with your green and red card here. But I would probably argue that we want to take a look at this Hollow Marauder for 2 reasons. One, it's a very good card, a 4/2 flyer for about 3 or 4 mana. Definitely makes some sense. Giving an opponent to discard a card automatically is there. That's a 2-for-1 right away, but then also sometimes being able to draw a card if they discard a land or something that's small, making that 3-for-1 is a big deal. This thing is very valuable, and the reason why I like it following Roxanne is that if you have your 5 lands, even if they're all mountains and forests, you play your Roxanne, assuming the Roxanne lives and you have 0 creatures in your graveyard, you're able to play the Hollow Marauder. Now, if Roxanne dies and you don't have your 7 mana, well, now you have 6 mana and the ability for your Hollow Marauder still to be cast because Roxanne is now in the graveyard. So the last thing I would say is that if you're in some sort of red-green here, and then you have your Hollow Marauder into green-black, that gives you a number of ways to get your creatures back, like your Roxanne or your Hollow Marauder, because you're going to be playing green-black, things with Honest Rutstein, Back for More, and of course Badlands Survival. So I know the Voracious Varmint is in green, and that's a very basic, nice, easy, safe pick, but I probably would take this Hollow Marauder early because it's that powerful, and it should be pretty easy to cast off of things like Roxanne. Pack 1, Pick 3, we see a Cactus Fold Sure Shot. I haven't looked at the rest of the pack, but this is absolutely the pick. This is one of the best uncommons in the entire set. 4 mana, 4/4 is incredible. Reach is very powerful in this set, and Ward 2 on top of all that is awesome. Finally tacking on the ability to give your other things haste, like Roxanne on turn 5, is insane. Absolutely incredible. Love this card. Think it's the best. Outside of that, I'm looking at Lively Dirge, this Wolverine, even the Abraded Bluffs. Again, Roxanne very much wants us to sort of splash all the powerful cards, and so Abraded Bluffs very good here, but certainly not better than a Cactus Fold Sure Shot. Pack 1, Pick 4, we've got this Duplication. I'm low on that. Full Steam Ahead is okay. We're taking a Giant Beaver. I think Beaver plays really well with a Sure Shot, plays really well with Roxanne. This is a great card, good pickup. Obviously, I'm also keeping an eye peeled on this Conduit Pylons. This is one of the only untapped deserts that fixes for you. Getting that Surveil is big. Getting an Archway and then bouncing the Pylons and then playing the Pylons again gets you a total of 3 Surveil 1s. That's kind of a big deal as well. But again, I don't think I'm taking this over a Giant Beaver. So Giant Beaver is a great pick. Pack 1, Pick 5, we see a Cunning Coyote. This is a great pick. Plays extremely well with all of our plays here. Being able to plot it on like turn 2, 3, 4, whatever, and then whenever you jam your big threat, like the Sure Shot, like the Roxanne, you can pull it out of your plot zone. That's awesome. Dance of the Tumbleweeds also looks good, but I think we probably could pick it up a little bit later on in the pack, or maybe in packs 2 or 3. So I would keep my eyes peeled for something like this, as again, this encourages that splash. So Cunning Coyote, great pickup here. Happy to see it. Pack 1, Pick 6. See Marchesa, which is big. We also see a Wolverine, and then this Unfortunate Accident. So if we wanted to take a look at some blue cards, we've got things like Crom and Plan the Heist. These are phenomenal cards worth splashing. If we want to take a look at black, we've got things like Unfortunate Accident and If we want to take a look at black, we've got Unfortunate Accident and Skullduggery. Those are also very incredible cards to be splashing. If we really want to go all out, I think we could take Marchesa here, but that's probably a little bit too much for me, seeing as we already want to be in the green-red strategy. So Irascible Wolverine, very safe pick. I think I probably would start looking at splashing something here because we've got the Roxanne, and we've definitely seen some available splashing options. So maybe Crom, as that might be one of the most powerful cards. Maybe Plan the Heist because it's one of the easiest cards to splash just for its plot cost here. But also maybe this unfortunate accident because, we don't really have any removal outside of the Roxanne herself right now. Pack 1, pick 7, not really filled with a Tornado. I don't love this card. Cycling is fine overall, but seeing a Desert Stew here is a signal for me at Pack 1, pick 7. This is something we definitely could be splashing, probably should be splashing. We've seen a couple of black cards now, and I think this may be a good Jund deck. Tornado's fine, but it's sort of the bottom of the barrel as far as green cards that I want. Pack 1, pick 8. We still see a Cactarantula in the pack. That is awesome for us. I wouldn't mind a Doc Arlok, which would play really well back with his Plan the Heist sort of thing if we wanted to move into a teamer sort of strategy. Binding Negotiation I also don't mind, but this sort of is just sort of one for one, and this is a value-driven format. So Cactarantula is great. We're definitely going to start prioritizing some deserts, both for fixing as well as making sure this comes down as a 5-drop. Pack 1, pick 9. On the wheel, we see the Derailment come back. We see the Prickly Pear come back. And I think it's a really tough go between these two cards. Obviously, as the Derailment being one of our main removal spells, that can be very powerful. 4 damage is very good in this format. That feels very good. 4 damage for 3 mana because it kills off pretty much every single mount that you want to care about for 4 mana or less. And then obviously Prickly Pear just is a good blocker and gets in. So I don't mind this Prickly Pear pick. This is a really tough one between these two. I could go really either way. Pack 1, pick 10. It's quick draw. I don't think we're ever really playing this card. Again, I know it's a red card, so you just sort of pick it up. But this is the part where I start to, lift your head up a little bit, see what else you can pick up. Skullduggery is a very powerful effect for 1 mana. And so we might end up taking something like this. Otherwise, if we were in the teamer realm, Deep Muck Desperado is definitely an alternate win con if you can get 2 or 3 of them, especially because Roxanne and other things just target based on attacking. So that's a good pickup here, I would think, just speculate on, particularly over quick draw. The last thing, this Jailbreak scheme is only a single blue to splash and is a very powerful effect at 6 mana, making things like your Roxanne unblockable, God forbid your Cactarantula unblockable, while also end up grip tiding something of your opponents. This is a very powerful effect at 6 mana. Pack 1, pick 11. Return the Favor, I actually haven't been down on. I don't know if we're playing it in best of 1, but this is definitely a good best of 3 card when you start to have opponents with heavy removal spell level decks, that sort of thing, or some opponents with only very light removal spell decks. If they have a reasonable removal spells, I'm kind of off this, but if they're very heavy or very light on removal spells, then this can be a really big game changer. Killing one of your opponent's things, copying it, maybe killing a second thing. 4 mana for this sort of effect is great out of the sideboard. We see a Jailbreak scheme here. I would really kind of look at this one as a bit of a signal in pick 12 that maybe we start moving into blue. Quick draw is fine, and then we round it off with a mountain. Open up. Pack 2, pick 1. We see a very powerful card in Archmage's Charm, but there's no way we can really make that one work. The Spire Bluff Canal is definitely enticing, but as we move down, we see this Jolene Plundering Pugilist, and like that is a great card. It's great for us. It makes our 3-drop slot at 4 power very powerful, which is really good. We do see caught in the Crossfire, which I wouldn't mind wheeling. Also, again, another Hollow Marauder, which definitely makes some sense. This Drover Grizzly, which looks good for us, and even, again, a Desert here, which obviously we don't have a whole lot to splash right now, but, this would be something I would keep my eyes peeled if it does wheel, that we would end up looking at pack 3 for very powerful black cards to splash. Pack 2, pick 2, we're rewarded with a huge rare and Stingerback Terror. There's definitely a lot of power going along in this deck with Jolene, the Sure Shot, Roxanne, Cactarantula. We've got the Stinger back Terror. So at this point, I'm going to start to look for removal spells to make sure that we can end up punching these things in and keep our board maintained to draw our powerful cards. Pack 2, pick 3. Yeah, so we see Assimilation Aegis, which is, again, one of very powerful cards, but I don't think there's any way we can really splash it in our deck right now. A Brimstone Roundup I'm kind of low on. I do see a Creosote Heath, which is good, but Trash the Town is phenomenal. This card is absolutely busted. It's super good at 3 mana. It's super good at 4 mana. I mean, I'll even cycle it at 2 mana to make it work out. Great card, great pickup. Pack 2, pick 4. We see a Fling here, amongst other things. Not a whole lot else for us in the red-green deck, but I do think Conduit Pylon is a desert, which plays well with Cacturantula, but then also this Forma Posse is a great one after we play things like Roxanne and Jolene might help us fix for that as well. Only having a singular white mana necessary means that we should be able to end up tapping this thing out for 5 or 6 and getting a whole bunch of 1/1 mercenaries, which really just sort of make combat difficult for your opponent. I'd really look at Forma Posse here over Fling. I think Fling is a pretty easily passable spell this early in the draft. Pack 2, pick 5. We see a Beaver, which is a very good card, but I think picking up an on-color duel is even better. So we definitely want deserts overall. I'm willing to splash off-color deserts so long as they share at least one color, but if it's got both of them, that shoots up my picks here. And Pack 2, pick 5 on-color desert. Let's go. Pack 2, pick 6. We see another Forma Posse. We see a Gold Rush, which plays kind of well with Jolene, but it's tough to pass up another Cacturantula here. This card is just as powerful as it gets, almost guaranteeing a 2-for-1, unless your opponent has a big spell, in which case then it's a 1-for-1 that you're trading off with things like another Cacturantula or the like, and I don't mind trading those things off 1-for-1 at that point of the game. Pack 2, pick 7. I see we're looking at another Cacturantula or the Snakeskin Veil, and I think this is a wise choice from Beer Emoji. Having our first Snakeskin Veil in the deck is really, really powerful in order to end up getting some value off these Cacturantulas, saving your Roxanne, saving your Jolene. These are all really, really powerful cards that can take over the game, and so 1 mana to save them feels great. Pack 2, pick 8. We see a Mind Raider. We see some Outlaw's Furies. I'm kind of down on most of these things. Mind Raider's a perfectly fine card. I might even play it over the Wolverine here just to get us to 5 mana sooner, which definitely feels good. But if we don't have to play this, that makes me feel a little bit better. Pack 2, pick 9. We're seeing a Caught in the Crossfire. I'm also seeing this Hollow Marauder wheel, and I know this is a reasonable card, but I think at this point in the draft, this is still a very reasonable splash card. I know our green-black lane hasn't come through, but we've got both Jolene and Roxanne to help with the splash. I think this is definitely worth a speculative pick, and because the card is that powerful. Pack 2, pick 10. We see not a whole lot here. We see a Magebane Lizard. We see a Boneyard Desecrator. Take what you want. I don't think we're playing any of these cards. Pack 2, pick 11. We've got a Brimstone Roundup. That's kind of meh. I do see both a Lazav and a Binding Negotiations. Those are both pretty interesting to me. And had we picked up 1, maybe 2 of those earlier Hollow Marauders, I probably would be a little bit more in on the Binding Negotiation. Pack 2, pick 12. We see a Corrupted Conviction. Sure. Pack 2, pick 13. We see a Boombox. Fine. And then, of course, we round it out with a Forest. Open up Pack 3. We see some extremely powerful cards here in both Calamity and Pest Infestation. I think Calamity is phenomenal as it follows up a Cacturantula. If you go Cacturantula on 5, Calamity on 6. It also works out really well with things like the Cactus Folk Sure Shot or, really anything. The one thing to kind of notice on this one is that if you use a legendary creature, it does not make the tokens because it has to be a non-legendary creature that saddles it. So you're not going to get a bunch of Roxannes or some Jolenes, but you will get a lot of other powerful things like Stingerback Terror, Cactus Foot Sure Shot, Cacturantula. Really, really powerful card. We also see an Arid Archway, Cacturantula, Pest Infestation, another bunch of really powerful cards over here as well. Really happy to see this pack. I'm expecting to wheel something big. Pack 3, pick 2. We see a Spinewood's Armadillo. That's really good for a splash. I see a Buried in the Garden and Eartha Joe Inspiring Vantage. Again, these packs are really coming up. We're in the right lane. We feel really good about it. I love this Armadillo pick. Pack 3, pick 3. This is, I think, the very first mistake of the entire draft. All the way in Pack 3, pick 3. This Magebane Lizard is not that powerful of a card. I just don't think it's that good because it only works against 1 or 2 particular decks. And as a 1/4, it just doesn't fit the strategy that we're doing here in red-green of 4 power or greater. Beat him down. This 2-mana 1/4 is more of a defensive strategy. It wouldn't mind it so much in like a red-blue strategy as a defensive body, but then this also deals damage to any player as they cast a non-creature spell, so now you don't really cast your non-creature spells in red-blue. So I think this card just doesn't really fit anywhere. I don't really love it. I'd love to see this Hollow Marauder. This could be our 4th one on the draft if we really wanted it. Otherwise, an Explosive Derailment also fits the bill pretty easily as a good removal spell early, a reasonable removal spell late. This, I think, is our first pick we're looking to have back. Pack 3, pick 4. We see a Hell to Pay, a Bristleback Sentry, a Thunder Salvo, some reasonable cards here. I don't mind a Bristleback Sentry, particularly because we're going to play like a Jolene or a Cactus Folk Sure Shot shortly thereafter, but I do think that this is a card that is kind of medium and something I wouldn't mind just passing by. Hell to Pay, although not terribly efficient, is a removal spell that gets rid of just about anything, and eventually it also could make a whole bunch of treasures for something like Jolene. So I think this is the card I'm going to end up picking up, this Hell to Pay, but it's fine. Pack 3, pick 5. We see things like Highway Robbery. This kind of suggests to me that red is not really either opened or passed well. But as you can see, we got lots of good black cards here. So I think had we had a couple Hollow Marauders and we're looking at that black splash, this Shoot the Sheriff is probably the card that I'm picking up. I know it doesn't really play well against like a red-black sort of strategy, but it plays extremely well against like a blue-white or a green-white. It kills off mounts very well. This just is something I think is powerful enough to be splashing along with a couple of other cards, whereas Highway Robbery is a replaceable style effect. Pack 3, pick 6. Again, we're seeing things kind of run a little bit dry. I wouldn't mind a Gigapede. Double black is a little tough. Prickly Pear is perfectly fine. Notably, the Slickshot Lockpicker looks really good. I know we're not taking it in this one, but this would be a card that piques my interest and catches my eye at Pack 3, pick 6. Prickly Pear is a fine pickup here. I don't know if we're going to play a second one, though. Pack 3, pick 7. We're seeing a continued sort of drought of red cards. A Voracious Varmint is fine. I think having a second Varmint over a first Raucous Entertainer is a little bit of a good question. This Entertainer is good, but the problem is that you play this on 2, great, and then on 3 you want to play your Prickly Pear, your Jolene, your 3 drops, and so then you don't really have an opportunity to tap it and add a counter, and then on 4 you want to play your 4 drops, right? I want to play my Giant Beaver, I want to play the Cactus Folk Sure Shot, and then I'm not able to end up, doing that. But eventually, as you end up having this thing just sort of sit on the board, maybe do a little bit of damage, you can end up getting things like your Bristleback Sentry. You put the counter on it when you top deck it, and then maybe the Cactus Folk Sure Shot even gives it haste at some point. That can be a really powerful effect. So I think this has some upside, maybe a little bit more upside than your second Voracious Varmint. It's tough to really say between these two, so I don't mind this pick. Pack 3, pick 8, not a whole lot here for us. If we ended up in Teamer, there's some good cards. Ride Down is fine. You kind of just take your pick at this point. Pack 3, pick 9, we do get the Arid Archway. That feels good to me because it ends up playing really well with both of our Cactarantulas. Also, you can go get it out of your Spinewoods Armadillo, so that way if you need 2 lands, let's say you only keep a forest and a mountain, you can end up getting the Spinewoods Armadillo. That ends up getting you up to 4 mana over the course of those turns, and that feels really good. Pack 3, pick 10, sure, Outlaw Sphere is fine. Pack 3, pick 11, we see another Hollow Marauder coming back around. I would have picked this up the first time. I would pick this up the second time. This is a card I think we could have at least had 2 of, if not 3 or 4, and definitely could have made our decks a lot more value-driven. Pack 3, pick 12, we kind of have a white card here, a Rooftop Assassin, and eventually an Island. All right, taking a look at the deck, I can see we're not really missing anything out of the sideboard with maybe the exception of this Cactarantula. I might be able to play something like this Highway Robbery as well, but there was definitely some opportunities at some point to maybe grab us a little bit more powerful cards. The deck, in general, I think we've got 2 Magebane's Lizards here, which are not terribly good cards. This Fling seems fine and probably could be replaceable. I think we're going to end up playing it no matter what, just because these Magebane Lizards need to get out of here. Cactarantula definitely needs to be in, and probably Highway Robbery just to sort of cycle a land in your hand or something similar. And other than that, I mean, the deck looks great. We've got lots of good, cheap creatures that are very powerful where they are. We've got a good top end, which can help out with some fixing. Calamity has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 phenomenal hits, and then some even sort of middling hits. If you use a Prickly Pear, you get to keep all the extra tokens it makes. If you use a Wolverine on a following turn, it gets another card out of you. 2 cards actually off the top of the deck, so that can be very good. And you've got plenty of good things to fling. I think this card is probably fine, not phenomenal. Outlaw's Fury would be another one I would look to replace. But again, not a whole lot here that I'm looking to bring in. Maybe the Tornado as a cycler, but that's kind of what we got in this Highway Robbery anyway. So overall, a great deck. I'm glad to see that it went well for you. Probably could have squeaked out a couple more wins with a couple of splashes here. There's definitely an opportunity there for a splash with 1, 2, 3... opportunities for splashing easily, plus playing a couple of swamps. Makes a singular swamp splash a pretty easy one there for you. If you want to have your deck featured on Run It Back, feel free to send me an email at runitbackmtg@gmail.com. Otherwise, send me a message over in Discord with your 17 lands data. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed and have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.